Hey, loving listeners. Welcome back to Mind-Blowing Motive, the place where your thoughts grow stronger, your heart gets wiser, and your journey becomes more meaningful. Let me ask you something simple but deep. Have you ever looked back at a situation in your life and thought, I could have handled that better? Maybe you reacted too quickly. Maybe your emotions took the lead. Maybe you expected too much from someone. That little pause of reflection, that's the beginning of maturity. Maturity isn't about growing older. It's about growing wiser. It's not about having all the answers, but about knowing when to stay silent, when to take a deep breath, and when to accept what can't be changed. A mature person knows how to control their inner world even when the outer world is chaotic. And that's powerful. You don't need a fancy degree or years of experience to be mature. It begins the moment you decide to think deeper, respond softer, and live smarter. Maturity is not a destination. It's a journey. A journey of falling down, standing back up, forgiving yourself, learning the lesson, and growing from within. And here's the truth. The world will keep testing you. People will disappoint you. Challenges will confuse you. But how you respond, how you choose to rise instead of react, to understand instead of judge, to grow instead of give up, that's what builds your character. In this journey today, I'll walk you through 6 powerful ways to become more mature in life. These aren't just tips. These are inner tools. Tools that will change how you think, how you feel, and how you deal with the world. And no matter your age, background, or struggles, you can apply these today. So let's begin this powerful ride of transformation. One mindset shift at a time. Let's learn how to rise higher, love deeper, and live better. Because maturity is not about age. It's about attitude. 1. Accept the reality. One of the biggest signs of maturity is your ability to accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Life doesn't always go according to plan. People don't always treat you the way you expect. Circumstances change, dreams get delayed, and sometimes things fall apart without warning. But here's the truth. Resisting reality doesn't change it. Denying the truth only drains your energy and blocks your growth. You see, immature minds often live in denial. They want the world to fit their expectations. They keep asking, why me, instead of asking, what now? But when you start to mature, your questions change. You no longer run away from the truth. You face it head on. You say, okay, this is what it is. Now, how do I deal with it? Accepting reality doesn't mean you give up. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming or stop trying. It simply means you stop fighting what's already happened. It means you take responsibility for your present instead of blaming others or waiting for someone to save you. You stop playing the victim and start playing the hero in your own life. Sometimes life gives you pain. Sometimes it gives you silence. Sometimes it gives you lessons in the hardest ways. But everything changes the moment you say, I accept this. I may not like it, but I will learn from it. I will grow from it. When you accept reality, your mind becomes clearer. Your heart becomes lighter. You stop wasting energy on anger, regrets, or fantasies that don't exist. Instead, you begin to see what's in front of you. You begin to work with what you have, not with what you lost. That's when transformation begins. Think about a broken relationship. An immature mind might keep texting, begging, or blaming. But a mature mind says, it's over. It hurts, but I accept it. I deserve peace. That simple shift in mindset saves you from months of suffering, Or imagine someone who gets rejected from their dream job. An immature person might feel like a failure and stay stuck in self-pity. But a mature person accepts the reality. I didn't get it. But this is not the end of the road. I'll try again, or I'll find a new path. That's power. That's maturity. Accepting reality also means accepting people for who they are, not who you want them to be. You stop trying to change everyone. You stop getting frustrated because someone didn't behave the way you expected. Instead, you understand. This is who they are. I can choose how I respond. That's emotional freedom. It also means accepting your own flaws. Mature people are not perfect, but they're honest. They admit when they're wrong. They don't make excuses. They don't pretend to be someone they're not. They know it's okay to have weaknesses. What matters is whether you face them or hide from them. The day you accept reality, you stop drowning in what if and start rising with what now. You stop wishing for a better past and start working on a better future. You stop wasting energy on what you can't control and start focusing on what you can. Because in the end, reality is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. Every disappointment, every delay, every no from life, those are all lessons wrapped in tough love. And maturity means you open those lessons with courage, not with resistance. So, if something in your life feels unfair right now, take a deep breath. Step back and remind yourself, I may not have chosen this reality, but I choose how I deal with it. That's where your power is. That's how you grow. That's how you become truly mature, from the inside out. 2. Control your emotions. Let's be honest, emotions are powerful. Sometimes they lift us up, and other times they tear us apart. And the truth is, emotions aren't bad. Feeling angry, sad, jealous, frustrated, or anxious is totally human. The real test of maturity isn't whether you feel emotions, but whether your emotions control you or you control them. Imagine a storm. It's loud, messy, unpredictable. That's what emotions feel like when they're out of control. Now picture a calm ocean. Deep, strong, quiet on the surface. That's emotional control. Maturity is when you become the calm ocean, not the storm. Immature people often let their emotions lead their decisions. They say things in anger they later regret. They make decisions when they're upset and later realize it was a mistake. But a mature person knows how to pause. They don't react right away. They feel everything but choose what they express. That small pause, that moment of silence between feeling and reacting, is where maturity lives. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean hiding them. It means understanding them. It means asking yourself, why do I feel this way, before you act? For example, let's say someone criticizes you unfairly. An immature reaction would be to snap back, insult them, or get defensive. A mature response would be to breathe deeply and think, is this worth my peace? Do I need to respond at all? That decision makes all the difference. One of the hardest things in life is to stay calm when everything inside you wants to explode. But here's a secret. The more you practice, the stronger you get. Emotional control is a skill. It's like a muscle. You train it by slowing down, observing your feelings, and choosing your response instead of being a slave to the moment. Think about a moment when you were angry. Maybe someone disrespected you. Maybe life didn't go your way. At that moment, it feels like you must express your anger. But what happens after? Most times, anger leads to regret. It damages relationships. It breaks trust. It makes you look weak, not strong. But when you control your emotions, people respect you more. Why? Because it shows strength. It shows that you're not ruled by impulses. You have the power to choose peace over chaos, dignity over drama. Let's talk about emotional intelligence. It's the ability to understand your own emotions and the emotions of others. A mature person doesn't just react to what someone says. They try to understand why that person said it. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe it's not about you at all. That awareness allows you to respond with grace instead of anger. Maturity is also about not taking everything personally. Not every comment is an attack. Not every silence is rejection. Sometimes people are going through their own storm. Don't let their lightning strike your peace. When you start controlling your emotions, you also stop depending on others to make you feel okay. You don't need constant validation. You don't need people to agree with you. You learn to sit with your feelings and manage them from within. This doesn't mean you'll always be calm. There will be days when emotions are loud. That's normal. But maturity means you don't let those emotions take the wheel. You don't make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. And here's a deep truth. Sometimes you'll have to walk away silently just to protect your peace. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every insult needs a reply. Sometimes, the best answer is silence. That's not weakness. That's power. Real maturity is when you learn that peace is more important than proving a point. Controlling emotions also means being aware of your emotional triggers. Everyone has them. Maybe you get sensitive when someone ignores you, or jealous when someone else gets the attention. That's okay. But when you recognize those triggers, you can prepare yourself. You can pause, breathe, and remind yourself, this feeling will pass. I don't have to act on it. Let me share something beautiful. Emotions are messengers. They tell you something about yourself. Anger may mean you feel disrespected. Sadness may mean you need healing. Jealousy may mean you have dreams you haven't fulfilled. When you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them, you grow. That's how you transform pain into power. It also helps to talk about your emotions in a healthy way. Write them down. Talk to a friend. Meditate. Exercise. Don't bottle them up. But don't throw them at others either. Maturity is finding that middle ground where you respect your feelings without being ruled by them. In relationships, emotional control is everything. Arguments happen. Misunderstandings happen. But if you know how to stay calm, how to listen, how to say, let's take a break and talk later, you build stronger connections. You create space for love, not damage. And finally, remember this. Maturity doesn't mean you never cry, never get angry, or never feel sad. Maturity means you honor your emotions, but you don't hand them the keys to your life. You feel deeply, but you act wisely. You protect your peace like it's your most valuable treasure, because it is. So next time life throws an emotional challenge at you, pause, breathe, remind yourself, I control how I respond. That's how you take back your power. That's how you rise above. That's how you grow, not just older, but wiser. 3. Take care of your mental health. Let's take a moment and talk about something we all feel, but often hide, our mental health. You can't see it like a broken leg. You can't bandage it like a cut. But your mental health, your thoughts, your stress, your emotions, your peace of mind is just as real as your physical body. And maturity means taking responsibility for it. In today's fast, loud, and noisy world, it's easy to get mentally exhausted. You wake up, check your phone, see someone living a perfect life on social media, compare yourself, feel low, rush to work or school, deal with pressure, maybe hear some criticism, fight a few silent battles, and still smile as if everything's okay. That pressure builds up. Slowly, it steals your joy. That's why taking care of your mind isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Mature people know that ignoring mental health doesn't make it disappear. It makes it worse. They understand that mental health is not just about avoiding breakdowns. It's about building strength inside. Just like you go to the gym for your body, you need daily habits to support your mind. One of the most powerful things you can do for your mental health is to listen to yourself. Ask, how am I really feeling today? Most of us never pause to check in. We push our emotions down, wear a mask, and keep running. But your mind needs attention. It needs care. It needs kindness from you. Let's be honest. Sometimes we break down. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. Sometimes we feel like we're not enough. And that's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But what makes you mature is how you respond to those moments. Instead of pretending you're fine, talk to someone. Open up to a trusted friend or write your feelings in a journal. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. There is strength in seeking support. There is bravery in admitting you're not okay. Maturity means knowing that struggling mentally doesn't make you broken. It means you're fighting battles most people don't even see. Another key part of mental health is rest. We live in a hustle culture. Work harder, sleep less, stay busy. But rest is not laziness. Rest is healing. A mature mind knows when to pause. It knows that burnout doesn't lead to greatness. It leads to emptiness. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is breathe. Take a break, turn off your phone, walk in nature, do nothing, recharge. You also need to be aware of what you feed your mind. The books you read, the people you follow, the conversations you have, the news you consume. All of it shapes your inner world. Mature people protect their mental space. They stay away from toxic gossip, negative energy, and people who constantly bring them down. They choose peace over popularity, depth over drama. Another way to care for your mind is by practicing self-compassion. We are often our worst critics. One small mistake, and we punish ourselves for days. We compare ourselves to others and feel like we're never enough. But would you speak to your best friend that way? Of course not. Then why do it to yourself? Being mature means being kind to yourself. It means saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. It means forgiving yourself for past mistakes and focusing on who you're becoming. Growth is messy. Healing is not a straight line. But every step forward counts, even the small ones. Also, maturity includes creating boundaries. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to please everyone. Sometimes the best way to protect your mental health is by saying, no, I can't handle that right now. That's not selfish. That's self-respect. And let's not forget, your physical health affects your mental health. Eating junk all the time, sleeping late, skipping exercise, it all adds up. You don't need to be perfect, but simple habits like drinking water, walking daily, sleeping well, and getting sunlight can boost your mood more than you know. A healthy body supports a healthy mind. Gratitude is another tool mature people use for mental balance. Every day, try to find one thing you're thankful for. It could be small, a good cup of tea, a smile from a stranger, a song you love. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right. and slowly, it heals your perspective. Also, remember this: healing takes time. Sometimes you'll feel like you're doing great. Other days, you'll feel like you're falling apart again. That's okay. Don't rush the process. Don't judge your journey. Just keep showing up for yourself. Keep doing the little things. Keep moving forward, even if it's just a tiny step. And finally, if you feel completely stuck, if the darkness feels too heavy, if your thoughts become too painful, please talk to a mental health professional. Therapists, counselors, and coaches are not just for serious problems. They're for people who want to grow, understand themselves, and live better. Reaching out is not weakness, it's wisdom. So, taking care of your mental health is one of the highest forms of maturity. Because when your mind is healthy, your choices become wiser. Your heart becomes calmer. Your life becomes more meaningful. Don't wait for a breakdown to start paying attention to your inner world. Start now. Start small, but start. Your mind is your home. Keep it clean, keep it calm, keep it safe. That's how you grow stronger, from the inside out. 4. Don't judge too early. Have you ever looked at someone and made a quick decision in your mind about who they are? Maybe you saw how they dressed, how they spoke, or one thing they did, and just like that, you decided their story. We've all done it at some point, but maturity teaches us something powerful. Never judge too early, because every person you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. You see, it's easy to make snap judgments. It's easy to label someone as lazy, rude, fake, or weird. But behind every face, there's a history. Behind every silence, there's a reason. And behind every attitude, there's a story you don't know yet. When you judge too quickly, you don't just misunderstand people. You miss out on connection, growth, and wisdom. Mature people pause before judging. They choose curiosity over criticism. Instead of saying, "He's so cold," they wonder, "Maybe he's been hurt." Instead of saying, "She's so fake," they ask, "Maybe she's just trying to fit in." That simple shift, from judgment to empathy, can change how you see the world. Think about it. How would you feel if someone judged your entire character based on one bad day? One mistake? One awkward moment? You'd feel misunderstood, right? That's how others feel when we place them in boxes without knowing their full story. Maturity is understanding that people are not black or white. They're full of gray areas. Someone can be kind and still make mistakes. Someone can be successful and still feel lonely. Someone can smile on the outside and cry themselves to sleep at night. Life is complex, and so are people. When you stop judging too quickly, you begin to see deeper. You start to listen more. You give people space to be themselves. And in that space, real understanding begins. You realize that maybe the loudest person in the room is hiding insecurity. Maybe the person who always stays quiet has the deepest thoughts. Maybe that angry guy at work is dealing with a broken family. You don't excuse bad behavior, but you understand it. Also, judging others often reflects our own wounds. Sometimes we judge people because we see parts of ourselves we don't like. Or we want to feel better about our own flaws. But maturity means working on your own heart instead of pointing fingers at everyone else. There's a beautiful quote that says, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle." That includes the stranger who cuts you off in traffic, the friend who suddenly became distant, the teacher who seems strict, the coworker who avoids eye contact, the cashier who forgot to smile. You never know what they're going through. And here's the truth. When you stop judging others, you also stop judging yourself so harshly. You become more compassionate, more forgiving, more accepting of your own journey. You stop expecting perfection from yourself and others. You embrace humanity with all its messiness. Another reason to avoid judging too early is because people change. Someone who hurt you once might grow into someone kind and thoughtful. Someone who seemed cold might be opening up slowly. Life has a funny way of teaching and transforming people. If you freeze someone in your mind based on a single moment, you might miss their evolution. Give people time. Give them grace. Don't be so quick to close the book after the first chapter. Some of the most inspiring stories begin with confusion, mistakes, or struggle. But they turn beautiful with patience. And yes, it's important to protect your boundaries. If someone's behavior hurts you, distance is okay. But don't carry hate in your heart. Don't turn a single action into a permanent judgment. Keep your heart soft. Maturity is knowing when to walk away and when to wait. When to speak up and when to stay silent. Think about this. How many people do you now love, trust, or admire? Who at first didn't make the best impression? How many friendships began after awkward first meetings? How many great people were misunderstood at first? That's why it's so important to look beyond the surface. Also, remember, we are not here to compete over who's right or who's better. We're all here to learn, to grow, to connect. Judging others blocks that growth, but choosing to understand builds bridges. And in a world that's already divided, we need more bridges. Here's a challenge. The next time you feel tempted to judge someone, pause. Ask yourself, do I really know their full story? What could they be going through? That small moment of reflection can change your entire approach. It can turn judgment into compassion, criticism into kindness. Because maturity is not just about how smart you are. It's about how kind you are when nobody's watching. It's about seeing the brokenness in others and still choosing to respond with dignity. It's about realizing that being right is less important than being human. So be gentle with people. Be slow to judge and quick to understand. Hold space for people's stories. Respect their silence. Honor their journey. Because one day, you'll want someone to do the same for you. And when you live that way, when you lead with love instead of labels, you don't just grow mature. You grow into someone this world truly needs. 5. Be silent over nonsense fights. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of an argument that hours later made you ask, was that even worth it? Maybe it started with a small comment, a misunderstanding, or someone's rude tone. And before you knew it, emotions took over. Words were thrown like knives. And in the end, nothing changed, except the peace you lost. Maturity means knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Especially during nonsense fights. Those arguments that don't solve anything, don't build anything, and only create more noise in your life. When you grow as a person, you realize that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every disagreement needs your energy. In fact, one of the strongest things you can do is not react. It's not weakness, it's strength. It takes real control to stay calm when someone else is trying to pull you into chaos. It takes maturity to say in your heart, I could argue, but I choose peace. Sometimes people want to drag you into fights not to find truth, but to boost their ego, to release their frustration, or just because they're hurting. And if you let yourself get pulled into that, You're giving them control over your inner world. That's not wisdom. That's emotional slavery. Mature people protect their peace like it's their most precious treasure. Because once you lose your peace, you lose focus. You lose clarity. You waste energy replaying conversations in your head, thinking of comebacks, justifying yourself. And while you're stuck in that loop, your mind becomes exhausted and your heart becomes heavy. Let me ask you, have you ever walked away from a fight and felt proud? Probably not. But have you ever walked away in silence, knowing you could have said something, but you chose peace instead? That feeling, that quiet power, is priceless. It's not about winning arguments. It's about winning your own self-respect. Think of your energy like currency. Would you spend your hard-earned money on junk? Of course not. So why spend your emotional energy on pointless arguments that lead nowhere? Save that energy for your growth, your dreams, your loved ones, your inner peace. Sometimes silence is not just a response. It's a message. It says, I don't need to prove myself. I don't have to react to every opinion. I know who I am. That silent strength often speaks louder than any shouted words. And here's another truth. Most nonsense fights come from ego. The desire to be right. The fear of being disrespected. The need to win. But maturity is letting go of your ego for the sake of something bigger. Peace. Harmony. Dignity. This doesn't mean you never speak up. There are times when your voice is needed, when silence would mean accepting disrespect or injustice. But nonsense fights are different. They're usually over pride, small misunderstandings, or someone else's bad day. In those moments, silence becomes a higher form of intelligence. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone mocks you in public or online. They want a reaction. They want drama. They want to feel powerful. Now you could fight back. You could defend yourself, argue, get emotional. But what if you smiled gently, stayed silent, and walked away? That silence would drive them crazy, not because it's weak, but because it's powerful. You chose not to give them your energy. And later, when you're alone, you feel lighter. You feel proud of how you handled it. That's maturity. That's real control. Now think about relationships. So many friendships, families, and romantic connections break down not because of big issues, but because of repeated small arguments. Over words, over tone, over ego. Maturity in relationships means choosing silence over shouting. It means taking a deep breath instead of proving your point. It means asking, will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? If the answer is no, let it go. Becoming mature also means realizing that not everyone is ready for calm conversations. Some people argue not to understand, but to dominate. You don't owe your peace to those people. You don't have to entertain every conflict. Silence in those moments is your shield, your boundary, your healing. Another benefit? Silence gives you time. Time to cool down, to reflect, to understand what you're really feeling. It helps you respond wisely later instead of reacting emotionally now. Many people regret the words they say in anger, but no one regrets the silence they kept to protect peace. You'll notice something magical when you begin choosing silence over nonsense fights. Your mind becomes clearer. Your relationships become healthier. Your days feel lighter. You smile more. You stop carrying so many emotional scars from battles you never needed to fight in the first place. And people notice that calm in you. They trust you more. They feel safe around you. Because calm people are rare. They're magnets in a noisy world. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a meaningless argument, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace, my time, my energy? If the answer is no, stay silent. Smile inwardly. Walk away gracefully. That's not running from the battle. That's choosing to win the bigger one, the battle within. Maturity doesn't mean you never feel anger. It means you know what to do with that anger. It means you don't let temporary emotions destroy permanent peace. It means you've grown strong enough to walk away, not because you're scared, but because you're wise. So hold on to your silence. Let it become your power. Let it become your protection. Because sometimes the loudest answer is no answer at all. 6. Don't depend on others for happiness. Let's take a deep breath and ask something real. Who is responsible for your happiness? Is it your partner, your friends, your family, your job, your social media followers? If your answer includes anyone other than yourself, then it's time to pause and reflect. Because one of the most powerful signs of true maturity is this: you stop depending on others to feel happy. Now, that doesn't mean you stop loving people. It doesn't mean you shut yourself off. It means you stop giving other people the power to control your emotional state. When your happiness is tied to someone else's actions, mood, or approval, you're not truly free. You're living like an emotional puppet, always waiting for others to pull the right string. Imagine this: someone praises you, and you feel amazing. But the next day, they ignore you, and suddenly you feel worthless. Or someone gives you attention, and your day feels bright. But they cancel plans or forget to reply, and you spiral into sadness. Sound familiar? That emotional roller coaster is the result of depending too much on people to validate your joy. But mature people learn something powerful. They create happiness from within. They find peace in their own presence. They enjoy their own company. They don't need others to smile first in order to feel okay. They've built a strong foundation inside themselves that isn't shaken by someone else's silence, rejection, or mood swings. This doesn't mean you won't feel hurt. Of course you will. We're human. We crave connection. But there's a big difference between being affected by others and being dependent on them. Maturity is when you can feel the emotion, but not let it hijack your sense of worth. Let's break it down. When you depend on others for happiness, you create unrealistic expectations. You start expecting people to always understand you, always show up for you, always say the right thing, always make you feel loved. But here's the truth: no one can be your constant source of joy. Everyone is busy fighting their own battles. They can love you, support you, care for you, but they cannot carry your emotional weight 24/7. And when people inevitably disappoint you, you feel broken, not because they did something horrible, but because you were relying on them for your emotional balance. That's why building inner stability is so important. Because when you have that, even if someone walks away, your world doesn't collapse. You remain whole. One of the ways to stop depending on others for happiness is by developing self-connection. Get to know yourself. Spend time alone, not out of loneliness, but out of love. Go for a walk without headphones. Journal your thoughts. Meditate. Ask yourself deep questions. What brings me joy? What drains me? What makes me feel alive? Mature people also pursue passions that fill their soul. They don't wait for someone to entertain them. They find meaning in art, nature, learning, service, silence. They discover small joys in everyday life. A cup of tea, a sunrise, a song that hits the heart. These simple moments build a reservoir of happiness that isn't tied to any person or event. Also, stop giving people the key to your emotional home. When your mood changes based on someone else's mood, you're handing them control. But when you decide, no matter what happens outside, I will protect my peace inside, you reclaim your power. That's emotional independence. Now let's talk about relationships. When you're emotionally dependent, you often become clingy, needy, or overly sensitive to small changes. You read too much into a delayed text. You panic over a short reply. You start asking, did I do something wrong? Why are they acting different? That anxiety ruins your mental peace and often pushes people away. But when your happiness comes from within, your relationships become healthier. You give love without fear. You don't demand constant reassurance. You enjoy your time with others, but you're not scared to be alone. That's attractive. That's peaceful. Another part of this maturity is learning to celebrate yourself. You don't need applause to feel proud. You don't need 100 likes to feel seen. You know your worth, even in silence. You pat your own back when no one notices. You speak kindly to yourself. You become your own cheerleader, your own comforter, your own friend. This mindset also helps during difficult times. When life feels heavy and support is limited, emotionally independent people know how to self-soothe. They cry if they need to, but they also remind themselves, I've survived before. I'll survive again. They don't wait for someone to rescue them. They become their own rescue. Let's be clear, depending on others is natural at times. We're social beings. But the danger is when it becomes your only source of joy. Maturity is about balance. You can love people deeply and still not lose yourself in them. You can enjoy company and still find peace in solitude. And here's a truth that might sting. Sometimes, the people you count on the most won't be there when you need them. That doesn't mean they don't care. It just means they're human. But if you've built a garden inside your own heart, you'll always have a place to rest, even when the world feels distant. So take your power back. Look in the mirror and say, I am responsible for my joy. That simple statement can transform your life, because when happiness lives inside you, no one can take it away. Not rejection, not failure, not loneliness. You become your own safe space. Don't wait for someone to make you feel special. You already are. Don't wait for someone to say you're enough. You've always been. And don't wait for someone else to make you smile. You hold the light inside you. That's the maturity you carry when you stop depending on others for happiness. That's the strength the world needs more of. And that's the kind of life that feels whole, even when you're walking alone. So, my friend, maturity isn't about age. It's about how you choose to live. How you think, how you feel, how you respond. When you accept reality, control emotions, care for your mind, stop judging, avoid meaningless fights, and find joy within, you become unshakable. You become calm. You become powerful from the inside out. And remember, this journey takes time, but every small step matters. If this message touched your heart and gave you a new way to think, don't forget to stay connected. This is Mind-Blowing Motive, your home for real growth, gentle strength, and motivation that matters. Till next time, take care of yourself and keep rising.